Has the altar of Moses actually been found? I'm Ryan Mauro from the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this week's video. According to Exodus 24:4, God tells Moses to build an altar where sacrifices can be performed at the foot of Mount Sinai. So if this were to be found, it would be one of the biggest archaeological discoveries of all time. So it's an important question. Has this been found? Well, let's look at 10 pieces of evidence to support the idea that this altar that you're looking at right now in Saudi Arabia is in fact the altar of Moses. Now, the first criteria and the most obvious criteria would be evidence of an altar and a spot where animals could be lined up for the sacrificial ceremony. And that's exactly what we find here at this spot in Saudi Arabia. You see an area that could be where the ceremony took place, and you also see exactly where two kinds of animals could be lined up next to each other, leading up to that bend that you see closer to the foot of the mountain where the sacrificial ceremony would take place. The second criteria, according to Exodus 24:4, is that it has to be built at the foot of Mount Sinai. And where is this located? Right there, at the foot of what we believe to be the real Mount Sinai. Point number 3. Exodus 24:4 says that God told Moses to build 12 pillars to represent the 12 tribes of Israel right next to the altar that he told him to construct. And now, amazingly, right next to what may be Moses' altar are the remains of pillars. There are 9 marble pillars and then destroyed remains all around them. So it's possible that there were originally 12 pillars and they've been either moved or destroyed. Point number 4. Exodus 20:25 tells us that the altar has to be made of uncut stone. This is a pretty unique feature. And, in fact, this possible altar is made of uncut stone. And that brings us to point number 5, which is that the altar system must not have any steps or stairs. And, again, that's exactly what we see here at this possible candidate for Moses' altar. Point number 6. We know, according to Deuteronomy 9:21, that there has to be a stream of water that comes next to the altar of Moses. Now, if you look at the footage on the screen, what you can see is that there used to be a major stream coming down from what we believe to be the real Mount Sinai right next to this possible altar. And that was necessary so that the priests during the sacrificial ceremonies could do the cleansing. Point number 7, you have to have evidence of burnt sacrifices. We know this from Exodus 24:5, that was part of the priestly ceremonies that happened with the altar of Moses. Now in 2002, Saudi archaeologists did a mini excavation of the site, and what they found supports our argument, even though the Saudis dispute that this is the altar of Moses. What they found was a layer of ash, as well as organic material, the remains of animals, in the exact area that is theorized where the priestly ceremonies took place, where the animals would have been sacrificed. And so that part of the excavation supports this theory. Specifically, the ash and animal remains were found in areas 5 and 7 of this structure, supporting the idea that this part of the altar was used in order to conduct animal sacrifices. Which raises another question. The Saudi archaeologists who dispute that this is Moses' altar like to say that this was a Roman-era house for quarry workers. But why would you be burning animals inside of your house? The 8th feature that you need to look for if you're looking for the altar of Moses is evidence of a Proto-Hebrew speaking population. That's what the Israelites would have spoken at that time. And what we find in the large plain where they likely encamped in front of this possible altar of Moses, there are Old Thamudic inscriptions. And it's theorized that this Old Thamudic is Proto-Hebrew. The 9th feature that you have to look for is a spot where Moses could have addressed the people. What you would need is essentially a natural amphitheater, a spot where he could be seen and heard before potentially millions of people. And you do find that at this site. In fact, a local Saudi told us of a tradition that Moses went up to a specific spot above the altar where his voice would echo and the entire population could hear him. We were also told by a local Saudi that the tradition is that the Yahud, the Jews, did their animal sacrifices at this spot to the one singular God.
You're going to tell me something?
Yeah, I'll tell you something. So one of the
guides here when we were walking up. He just was confirming that he actually said that the Jewish people were here. And that
one of the Saudi guides said that.
Yeah, just here.
That's amazing.
And that the Jewish people were here and that this was used to sacrifice animals to the god.
Wow. Oh, dude, the singular. Wow.
Yeah. And
right.
I asked if I could film him and he said no.
So local tradition does support the idea that this is the altar of Moses. And that brings us to our 10th and final point. There has to be other evidence of the Exodus in the area where you believe the altar of Moses to be. It's not just about the altar itself being found. You have to find other evidence of the Exodus taking place in that area. And anyone who's seen our film, Finding the Mountain of Moses, knows that there is a remarkable number of findings in this area that appear to line up perfectly with the Exodus story. So it's not just about the case for one particular site. You have to put all of these pieces together and say, really, what is the likelihood that all of this came together just by sheer coincidence and it happens to match the Exodus story? Our friend Joel Richardson often puts it this way. He says either this is where the Exodus happened, and therefore this would be the altar of Moses, or God decided to punk all of mankind. He decided to allow an area to be created that would so closely match the Exodus that would fool everybody. And that's kind of where we come from. What are the odds that you have all of this Exodus-compatible evidence being in the spot where we believe the Exodus did happen, and not all happening by sheer accident or by chance? The likelihood of that is really very small. So those are the 10 features that you need to find if you're looking for the altar of Moses described in the book of Exodus. And as you can see, our candidate in Saudi Arabia meets all 10 of those criteria. If you'd like to watch future videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and you can actually go see these sites for yourself with me on a tour. We have the link below if you'd like to sign up. And please consider a small donation to the Doubting Thomas Research Foundation so that we can continue our research into the possible areas of the Exodus. Thanks for watching.